Good morning, friends. Great to see you on a cool summer day. I invite you to rise in body and or spirit. We're going to sing out of the Teal hymn book, hymn number 1018, Come and Go With Me.
Thank you, Troy. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Olympia Unitarian Universalist congregation. We're so glad that you're here. My name is Liz Clement. I use they and she pronouns. I am a white woman with my brown hair pulled back today, and I'm a member of our worship arts team. Leading worship with me today is our guest speaker, Seth Anderson-Matz, as well as Troy Fisher, our music director, and Reverend Sarah Lewis, our Director of Community and Faith Development. It's such a joy to have Seth with us today. He's a public theologian and community minister based in Minneapolis, Minnesota, whose scholarship and ministry center the prophetic wisdom of queer and trans life and the spiritual practice of liberation. Side note, his wife Jennifer also grew up in Olympia, so we're lucky that we can claim Seth as part of our community too, if he'll let us. Our community here envisions an interconnected world that is loving, just, and healthy. We commit to live out our mission to welcome and wonder, embrace and empower, bridge and become. We're a people of many genders, many racial identities, many economic levels, and many sexual identities, and all the intersectionalities that make us beautifully unique individuals. And in all the ways that we are different, here we are. We believe diversity is sacred and that we are enriched by the gifts that each of us brings. We affirm that we are all growing, all becoming, and that we all learn from each other. Thank you so much for being here. Those of you in person, those of you online, so good to be with you today. A few things to know about our service today, and if you've been here before, these will be familiar to you. We're streaming live on Zoom and YouTube, and this service is being recorded. Here in the sanctuary, we have our sometimes creative subtitles joining us today. And right now, they appear to be doing pretty well. So, yay. Those are also on Zoom. If you're joining us online, you can figure out how to turn those on or off if you're like in your Zoom settings. We're a multi-generational community that welcomes people of all ages here in the sanctuary. Over here we have soft chairs and activities for hands that want to keep busy. basically. And we also have nursery care and a story time program for children in the classroom wing. I was just walking by there a few minutes before we started, and it was just such a joy to see some of our younger folks having a good time down there. We also do have busy bags in a basket just outside the sanctuary doors over here by Pam. These are designed for anyone ages 5 and older, so if your hands want to be busy during the service, that's great. Please go help yourself. Today, Seth is going to share with us his experience of joining with others in his home state of Minnesota as they protested and witnessed the occupation of Minneapolis and St. Paul by immigration officials earlier this year. He'll refer to violence by the government as well as homicide, and also the state of activation and caution that many folks, both in Minneapolis and here in Olympia as well, live with and experience every day. We know that this might be difficult for some folks, so we trust that you will take care as you need. And please reach out if you'd like additional support. We do have members of the pastoral care team here with us today in the sanctuary. You can find them in their green stoles. Please feel free to call on them as a resource if you would like. They're a wonderful gift to our community. We're so grateful for the many hands that helped make worship happen this morning, both visible and less visible. And I promise you there are many more less visible hands than the visible ones that you do see that make our time together possible. Thank you so much to all who contribute in so many ways. After the service, we'll all have the chance to discuss reflection questions, if you would like to do so. For folks online, we invite you to go into a breakout room for a virtual coffee chat and to check in on each other there. For us in person this morning, please feel free to stay for coffee and fellowship in the Commons. There are so many things happening at OUUC, even in the summer here when things do slow down. Check out the Tuesday electronic update or the website for the most up-to-date information. And now, let us open our hearts and our minds as we prepare for worship. Welcome, everyone. It is so good to be together. This morning, we join Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world in lighting a chalice, the symbol of our faith tradition. This morning, we light our chalice with the words of trans and non-binary UU minister, Reverend Jamie Yandel. These words are adapted by Seth. We light this chalice, and in its flames, our queer and trans ancestors dance in freedom and liberation, reminding us all that we are whole and holy and loved beyond measure. May we know that we are rooted in the infinite divinity enshrined at its core and enfleshed in stardust and glitter.
Good morning. My name is Seth Anderson-Matz. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a short, tattooed, blonde, kind of balding trans guy. And our opening words are a poem by Unitarian Universalist spiritual director and theologian, Reverend Alex Klingenberg. A pattern, a recipe, a story, a poem. Plant a seed. Be metaphorical. Now is not the time to be boring. Get inventive. Get bold. Get weird and outlandish. Get uncomfortably vulnerable. Construct a new status quo. Figure out your deepest, wildest, most expansive dreams for the world and write them down. Build them up. Begin, conceive, create, birth, open, if ever there was a time for you to become who you always dreamed you could be, it is now, when the rules are soft and the edges are blurred and the world is blinking into an uncertain future. Be the future that comes into sharp focus. Tell the truth, the absolute truth. Spare none of the details. The only way through this is mutually assured creation. Come, let us worship together.
Yeah. I invite you to rise and let's sing together again. This is Cliff Hardin's great hymn, We Will Rise Together.
Good morning. So long ago, there were two villages. They were called the Sun Village and the Moon Village. And they were built pretty close to each other, but there was a big, deep canyon between them. And so even though they were relatively close, they didn't have any way to connect with one another. Now, life in both villages was good. There were public parks and space in nature. There were people taking care of each other, cooking food and watching children and teaching people new skills. There were people who were exploring big ideas and making art and poetry. But then one day, there was a big earthquake that hit the Sun Village. Everything shook The houses and buildings fell down. People were hurt. The people in the Sun Village who were able to did what they could to help each other and to try to repair their buildings and find the injured. But this had been a bad earthquake, and they needed help. Now, meanwhile, over at the Moon Village, they could see what had happened, and they wanted to help. They knew that they had skills and resources and ways to help the people of the Sun Village, but there was this great big canyon, and they didn't have any way to get over there. And so they saw a need, but they felt sort of helpless and powerless to do anything, and that's never a good feeling. So they started to talk about what could they do, and then one wise voice rose up and said, maybe we could build a bridge. What an idea, but they'd never done it before. They didn't know how to build a bridge over a great big canyon. And so they started talking about what they might need for building a bridge, and some of the people wanted to go find experts in bridge building and learn from them. And others wanted to make a really beautiful master plan from beginning to end of exactly how to do this. Some of them wanted to form a committee to talk about the subject of bridges. There were many, many ideas, some of them good, but also there wasn't much time. And so in all this conversation about what to do, another wise voice was heard that said, maybe we just have to start. Maybe we just have to try building. And so they decided that that's what they would do. They would just start. And so some of them did know like construction techniques, and they would help and teach others who didn't. And some of them had resources, wood and cables and other useful things for bridge building. Others got organized to do things like cook meals for the people who were building the bridge, or to gather up relief supplies for taking to the Sun Village. There was something for everyone to do. It was a sustained community effort. Now, it wasn't that they got it all done perfectly. They would start and build the bridge, and then something would break or it wouldn't work, and they would have to say, oh no, and fix it or try again. And it has to be admitted that this was not the most beautiful bridge. It wasn't elegant. It was cobbled together with all sorts of different materials, and you could see that mistakes had been made along the way. But nonetheless, it was working. They were getting across. And when the bridge was completed and the people of the Moon Village and the Sun Village could connect with each other, then the Moon Village people helped the Sun Village people, and they all became a larger community of care, because larger communities of care are stronger communities. They helped each other, and they also discovered that it was wonderful to get to know each other. Why, now there was different food and music, different things to learn and hear, different stories to tell. And so the communities stayed connected. And to this day, they still like to point to that bridge and tell the story of how they built it. Because whenever they face something challenging and hard, now they can point to that bridge and say, we can do hard things. We built that bridge while we were crossing it. Thus ends our story for today.
Each Sunday, we engage in the spiritual practices of generosity and gratitude by joining together in service to our community and to something greater than ourselves. This is an opportunity to express our gratitude for the gifts that life has given us, for the network of relationships in which we live, and for the presence of this community. We each have the power to share, and when we combine our gifts to create an offering, we are able to do together more than any one of us can do on our own. If you are new or visiting us today, you are our guest. You are so welcome, and we do not expect you to contribute. However, if you are moved to be part of our offering, what you do share will be so gratefully accepted. The offering collected here at OUUC does two things. Half helps to support the ongoing work of this congregation, which is also supported by our members' regular pledges. The other half goes to charity. Most of it is shared with an organization that serves our community, the greater Olympia and South Sound community, in harmony with our Unitarian Universalist values. And a small portion also goes to the OUUC Ministers Benevolence Fund to support the more urgent needs within our congregation and community here. In May and June, our Share the Plate recipient was Enterprise for Equity. Enterprise for Equity is a local nonprofit that helps local low-income entrepreneurs start or strengthen their own businesses. Thanks to your generosity, we sent $3,382 to this wonderful community organization, and we also replenished the OUUC Ministers Benevolence Fund with $966 to provide help wherever it's needed. Thank you so much, everyone. Our Share the Plate organization for this month, July, and also for next month, August, is the Puget Sound Estuarium. The estuarium was founded by OUUC member Diana Larson Mills and her husband Ken Guza in 2007, so almost 20 years ago now. It focuses on environmental learning, stewardship, and community engagement. Its science-based programs serve learners from pre-kindergarten through adulthood, all generations, helping people understand and protect the waters, shorelines, species, and estuaries of the South Sound. Our Share the Plate proceeds will enhance the Estuarium Scholarship Fund so that these learning opportunities can remain accessible to all. We offer our thanks to all who give today, including those who give to the offering electronically. If you'd like, you can find out more about that in the order of service or on the OUUC website. May the offering now be generously given as it is gratefully received. This morning, we do what humans have done for all existence. We gather in times of worry and fear, and in times of celebration and joy. We come into community bringing all that is in our minds and hearts and all that we carry around in our bodies. Let us open our hearts to the complexity of life as we place stones in the water of community. We'll hear a drum beat. Allow its resonance into your body. It is the heartbeat of life, the heartbeat of community. Right now, I invite you to take a deep breath in and out. Feel the air in your body. Feel the earth beneath us. Feel the warmth of connection. While there are so many heavy things around us in the country and in the world all the time, we do have something to celebrate today. Today, July 26th, in 1990, the Americans with Disabilities Act was signed. This is a landmark piece of legislation. Yes. This is a landmark piece of legislation that spoke in law through the tools that governments can use to say that people with disabilities, and by extension all people, have value and are welcome and are to be included in the lives that we live and in the communities where they choose to live. Now, this has not always been honored, essentially, and the ADA is a floor and not a ceiling. So we may constantly strive to live into the intent and to move beyond it, because there's so much further beyond it that we can go. But in this time of hardship all around, let's do remember there are good things in this country too. And now I'll invite you to come forward. If there's something that you would like to bring into the community, you can place a stone from the basket here into our bowl of water, and it will mix with the stones from the beautiful folks who were here earlier in our first service this morning. Please place your stone as you hold your sharing into your heart, and please reach out in love and care to all who share. Please come forward when you're ready. And we'll place one more stone in the water for all that we hold in our hearts, all that remains unspoken. As well as one for all that's been shared online, shared from the heart. And we hold together all that has been shared. May you feel yourself witnessed, and may you know that you are loved. I think it's a good day for a howl. What do you think? Okay. So we know how this goes here at OUUC. Please be in whatever way is comfortable for you, wherever you are. In a moment, I'll start howling. Please feel free to join me as you like. We'll howl for a little bit, and then we will be in silence together for a few moments. Today's reading is a poem written by Seth. I do not offer this to you to give you what is mine, but to make what is mine become ours again. We arrived here, tethered to the body of our birther, born of their shared blood, unencumbered by borders of flesh or land, blissfully oblivious to any disconnection between us and the rest of creation. Made of the same dust, born of the same cosmos, composed of the same water, rising and falling by the same moon. We are designed for this communion, so please take it and eat. It is as much yours as it ever was mine.
It is truly my joy and pleasure to be here with you at OUUC today. Again, my name is Seth Anderson-Matz. I use he, him pronouns. And as Liz mentioned at the beginning of the service, my work centers the religious and spiritual qualities of queer and trans life. I work in relationship with congregations, organizations, faith leaders, artists, and activists throughout the country to offer spiritual care and connection and exploration to queer and trans people, and to boldly proclaim the spiritual power and wisdom of queer and trans life to any and all who will hear it, and inevitably, some who won't. Today, the word queer is most commonly used to describe someone whose sexual or gender identity falls outside the confines of heterosexual or cisgender, and is often a catch-all to describe any and all of these identities. In the academic realm, queer generally describes a theoretical framework that crosses or defies or reimagines established boundaries or expectations. Certainly the term was also once and still can be derogatory, depending on its context and tone, and has left deep scars on some of us, despite many reclaiming it. The term queer has also been used to articulate strangeness and eccentricity, unconventionality, rejection or modification, something questionable or suspicious, sick or unwell, embarrassing or disadvantageous, or spoiling an expected effect or outcome. When I say queer, as in my identity, as in my body, as in my framework, as in my life, as in my theology, I am referring to every single one of these definitions. And while the terrorization of queer and trans people has had a meteoric rise and calculated spread under our current regime, which has in some ways been unprecedented in its scale, the attitude itself is nothing new. Queer and trans people have been publicly flagellated for society's malfunctions for centuries. And violence against queer and trans people is a very long story. And it is also the story of patriarchy, of racism, of classism, of ableism, colonialism, imperialism, fascism, and so much more. Queerphobia and transphobia are woven through a complex network of global systemic violence. And this current moment in our world's history is what social researchers call a polycrisis. an interlocking system of traumas and tragedies, local and global, near and far, compiling and compounding to create one giant mess of collective harm. From global war and genocide to rising Christofascism, culture wars, wealth hoarding and labor exploitation, massive health and educational disparities and a gutted federal aid budget, climate disaster and ecological collapse, and all of the many tendrils of these tragedies that wrap themselves around our daily lives. The continued presence of ICE in Minnesota, in Washington, and in the US at large, and the growing climate of queerphobia and transphobia are deeply interrelated realities. Both are the result of decades of calculated institutional and interpersonal violence and moral injury by the religious right. Both reflect centuries-old imperialist practices of sanitation and standardization. Both are reflected within Minnesota and Washington's parallel histories of immigrant and queer and trans refuge. And ultimately, the experience of immigration or of seeking refuge or asylum is in and of itself a deeply queer way of being. The term queer in this case moves beyond the literal description of sexuality or gender identity to encompass all that which is unconventional, defiant, displaced, incongruous, or otherworldly. To be queer in this way is to approach, interrogate, and traverse what Chicana feminist theorist Gloria Anzaldúa calls la frontera, or the borderlands, spaces between states of culture, or of governance, or of being. We are pressed into these margins and middle grounds, while also living in defiant resistance to the walls that close us in. And in a system that relies on easily sorting us out from one another. Queer and trans life, like immigrant and refugee life, presents something slippery and ungraspable, rejecting the false confines of these borders and threatening and sublimating the imperial powers that be. And it is from within this place of liminality and expansiveness, these borderlands, that we ultimately create new worlds. Queer and trans people, those of us who experience liminality and expansiveness within the scope of our sexuality and our gender, are full-time residents of these borderlands, not only living within these other spaces, but embodying them. And of course, these connections are not merely theoretical. There are no shortage of queer and trans people who are also immigrants and refugees, or children of immigrants and refugees, embodying these parallels and living every day within these through lines. As we travel along, between, and within the borderlands, whether as residents or as passersby, we can see for ourselves the many places where the pathways to liberation intersect. and that every movement flows in the same direction, leading us always back to a love that defies these unjust standards and denies these rigid borders. Queer theorist Jose Esteban Munoz defines queerness as the horizon. It is the space where the sky meets the road, where reality meets possibility, where circumstance meets imagination, where the imminent future meets the lingering present, and where the limits of humanity meet the infinity of the divine. The cosmic and transient oneness that I would call God is ever present within this horizon, both as its creator and as its very contents. Woven within the spectral layers of the sunrise, appearing before us in every time and place where the elements of life merge and blend together to create something fabulous. I believe with all my heart that the queer and trans spirit possesses within it a divine affinity and a subsequent charge to imagine and manifest other ways and other worlds. It is no mistake or coincidence that Renee Good, whose bold defiance in the face of empire and insistence in the way of liberation resulted in her public execution, was a queer woman, or that you can and will always find queer and trans people on the front lines of every movement for liberation. I was one among a great many in the Twin Cities and greater Minnesota, building the necessary pathways and momentum to move thousands upon thousands of dollars in donations of money and supplies during the surge. With food shelves and community services seeing more than 10 times their average numbers, and the city playing hardball with relief funds, the demand for this additional support was significant, to say the least. And following in the way of the George Floyd uprisings of 2020, and like so many moments of unrest and dissent throughout the centuries, thousands of people piled into the streets of Minneapolis. Churches opened their doors to provide free meals, temporary shelter, emergency medical care. Free stores popped up all over town. Local restaurants shifted to pay-what-you-can models. Community-led patrols, counter-surveillance scanners, medic teams, and ride shares developed. Hundreds of community-run distribution sites popped up throughout the metro in restaurant basements, barbershop back rooms, church dining halls, and all kinds of borderlands. And one among many of these places was the Twin Cities Pride Cultural Arts Center. Designed as a sanctuary for queer and trans folks in the Twin Cities, especially our large and rapidly growing population of queer and trans domestic refugees coming to Minnesota seeking cultural and political haven. The Pride Center is located in Loring Park, which is a downtown neighborhood known for its proximity to both corporate elitism and starkly visible homelessness and poverty. And for this reason, the center's community aid pantry saw exceptionally high traffic not just of queer and trans folks, but of all our targeted and impacted kin. And no matter how deep your heart has fallen into the shadows of despair, I know if you had entered the Pride Center this winter, in the acute crisis of occupation and unrest we all found ourselves in, you would believe with your whole heart that there is another way. In a time of locked doors and closed blinds, the front door to the center was wide open, though staffed by a well-trained and emergency-prepared greeter, of course. And inside, you would find drag queens sorting diapers and canned goods in full face, elder trans women directing assembly lines, queer goths in trench coats serving as translators, children of white queer families playing with children of refugee families as their parents shop the pantry, old friends catching up, new friendships emerging, Midwest butch lesbians hauling boxes from their trucks and refusing any help, even though it's 10 below zero and they're still wearing cargo shorts. Crisis, or emergency, is a queer state of being. Rupture creates a break in an existing structure, revealing places of instability and emergent need. And times of crisis and emergency require an intimacy of care and attendance to one another that necessarily transforms our relationships beyond their expected or accepted boundaries, especially across cultural lines, creating novel pathways of connection and ultimately returning us to the radical truth of our inherent unity, that the borderlands between you and me are not nearly as unmovable as we've been made to believe. When we deny these borders, if even for a moment, we create a new world, the world of our deepest longings. Within these revolutionary moments, we are momentarily lifted out of the trappings of state-sanctioned business as usual and create a chance for ourselves and our neighbors to experience life as it could be if our lives were truly led by the spirit of love and dignity and interdependence. We get to imagine together what could be, moving together toward the horizon as we live into that imagination, creating new world after new world through mutual aid and solidarity and care that exceeds what the imperial systems are willing or able to provide. We create new worlds through protests and marches, through free stores and community meals, through safe houses and autonomous zones, through dance parties and sing-alongs, memorials and vigils, neighborhood group chats and community patrols, strikes and boycotts, money and time, small businesses turned into medic stations, restaurants turned into soup kitchens, and all of the many places we unite to insist on liberation for all. May it be so. Amen.
I invite you to rise, and together let's sing Rebecca Parker and Elizabeth Norton's wonderful "There Is a Love."
We extinguish our chalice with the words of non-binary poet Travis Alabanza. I want you to know, before you step outside, that there are others stepping too. That people have stepped before us, with us, and will step after us. That the pavements can feel so lonely, but I know that I have stepped there too. That we have existed before and exist in the present and will exist in the future. We come from a line of warriors. We did not choose to fight, but we know how to survive. Before you step outside, we love you. Before you step outside, I love you. Before you step outside, breathe. I love you. Go in peace.